Foundations of Amateur Radio. As you might recall, I took delivery of a device called a PlutoSDR some time ago. If you're not familiar, it's a single-board computer that has the ability to transmit and receive between 70 MHz and 6 GHz. The system is intended as a learning platform. It's open source, you get access to the firmware, compilers, and a whole load of other interesting tools. I used it to play with aviation receive using a tool called Dump 1090, which I updated to use OpenStreetMap. If you're interested, it's on my VK6 FLAB GitHub page. Over the past few months, I've been steadily acquiring little bits and pieces, which today added up to a new project. Can I use my PlutoSDR to transmit Whisper? This all started because of an experiment and a conversation. The experiment was, using my FT857D on 70 centimeters, can I transmit a weak signal mode like Whisper and have my friend on the other side of the city decode the transmission? The answer to that was a qualified yes. I say qualified since we weren't able to transmit a Whisper message, but using FT8 we were happily getting decodes across the city. We're not yet sure what the cause of this difference is, other than the possibility that the combined frequency instability at both ends was large enough to cause an issue for a Whisper message, which lasts about 2 minutes. On the other hand, I learned that my radio can in fact go down to 2 watts on 70 centimeters. I've owned that radio for over a decade. Never knew. Now that I have a bandpass filter, some SMA leads, and the ability to talk to my Pluto across the Wi-Fi network, I can resurrect my Pluto adventures and start experimenting. I mentioned that this was the result of an experiment and a conversation. The conversation was about how to create a Whisper signal in the first place. At the moment, if you run WSJTX, the software will generate audio that gets transmitted via a radio. All fine, except if you don't have a screen or a mouse. Interestingly, a Whisper transmission doesn't contain any time information. It's an encoded signal, containing your call sign, a Maidenhead locator, that's a 4 or 6 character code representing a grid square on Earth, and a power level. That message doesn't change every time your transmitter starts the cycle. So if you were to create, say, an audio file with that information in it, you could just play the audio to the nearest transmitter, like a handheld radio, or in my case a Pluto, and as long as you started it at the right time, the decoding station wouldn't know the difference. As an aside, if you're playing along with your own Pluto, and far be it for me to tell you to go and get one, you can set the Pluto up using either USB, in which case it's tethered to your computer, or you can get yourself a USB to Ethernet adapter and connect to it via your network. If you have a spare Wi-Fi client lying around, you can get that to connect to your Wi-Fi network, connect the Pluto via Ethernet to the Wi-Fi client, and your gadget is connected wirelessly to your network. I can tell you that this works. I'm typing commands on the Pluto as we speak. As is the case in any experiment in amateur radio, you start with one thing and work your way through. At the moment, I want to make this as simple as possible. By that, I mean as few moving parts as I can get away with. I could right now fire up some or other SDR tool, like say GNU Radio, and get it to do the work and make the transmission. But what I'd really like to do is actually have the Pluto do all the work. So I'm starting small. Step 1 is to create an audio file that I can transmit using the Pluto. It turns out that step 1 isn't quite as simple as I'd hoped. I located a tool that actually purports to generate an audio file, but the file that it builds cannot be decoded, so there is still some work to be done. On the face of it, the level of progress is low, but then this whole thing has been going for months. The experiment on 70 centimeters lasted half an hour. The discussion took all of a cup of coffee. So far, I spent more time on this project making the Wi-Fi client talk to my network than all the rest put together, and that includes finding and ordering the Pluto in the first place. You might well wonder why I'm even bothering to talk about this as yet unfinished project. The reason is simple. Every day is a new one. Experiments are what make this hobby what it is, and every little thing you learn adds to the next thing you do. Some days you make lots of progress. Other days you learn another way not to make a light bulb. I'm Onno, Victor Kilo 6, Foxtrot Lima, Alpha Bravo.